The wealth gap isn't only about income. Part 1. The invisible divide. Somewhere in this city, two people are waking up to begin another ordinary Tuesday. They've never met. They probably never will. Yet their lives have far more in common than either of them realizes. They are both 32 years old. Both graduated from college. Both work full-time. Both earn exactly $95,000 a year. Both receive health insurance. Both contribute to a retirement plan. Both drive to work every morning. Both dream of buying a bigger home someday. Both hope to retire comfortably. On paper, their financial future should be almost identical. But 25 years from now, one of them will quietly build a net worth of more than $2 million. The other, despite earning the exact same salary, will still be worried about monthly bills, car payments, and whether retirement is even possible. How can that happen? How can two people, earning the same paycheck, living in the same economy, end up living completely different financial lives? Was one simply luckier? Did one discover a secret investment? Did one inherit a fortune? Surprisingly, the answer is no. The difference wasn't hidden inside their paycheck. It was hidden inside thousands of small decisions, made so quietly that neither of them noticed their lives moving in opposite directions. Today, we're going to uncover one of the biggest misconceptions about wealth, because the wealth gap isn't always between the rich and the poor. Sometimes it's between two neighbors, earning exactly the same income. Welcome to MoneyXGrab, where we don't chase money, we decode the systems behind it. Opening story, the two paychecks. Let's meet David and Emma. Neither one is extraordinary. In fact, that's exactly why their story matters. David works as a project engineer. Emma is a marketing manager. Every other Friday, their employers deposit nearly identical paychecks into their bank accounts. At first glance, their financial lives appear almost identical. They each rent comfortable apartments. They both drive reliable cars. They each contribute 5% to their employer's retirement plan. They both enjoy dinners with friends, weekend trips, streaming services, coffee on the way to work. Neither considers themselves careless with money. If you ask their coworkers who seemed more successful, most people would struggle to tell the difference. Now watch what happens next. David receives a promotion. His salary increases by $12,000. To celebrate, he upgrades his apartment, leases a newer SUV, starts dining out a little more often. Nothing extravagant, nothing irresponsible, just small improvements. Emma receives the exact same promotion. She celebrates too. She takes a weekend trip, buys herself something she'd wanted for months. But before changing anything else, she quietly increases the amount automatically invested every payday. Then, she continues living almost exactly as she did before. Neither decision seems life-changing. Neither person believes they're shaping the next 25 years of their life. Yet, that's exactly what's happening, because wealth is rarely built through dramatic moments. It's built through ordinary Tuesdays, ordinary paychecks, ordinary decisions, repeated again and again. The challenge is, we rarely notice those decisions while they're happening. The great financial misunderstanding. Ask almost anyone, what makes someone wealthy? You'll hear familiar answers. A high-paying career, a successful business, a large inheritance, winning the lottery, a lucky investment. Notice something? Nearly every answer focuses on how money comes in. Very few people ask, what happens after the paycheck arrives? That's where the real story begins. Income matters. Let's be clear about that. Higher income creates opportunities. It can reduce financial stress. It can increase choices. It can improve quality of life. But income alone doesn't determine wealth. Think of income as water flowing into two identical buckets. If one bucket has holes, it never fills. If the other bucket is carefully maintained, it gradually overflows. The water entering both buckets is exactly the same. The difference isn't the income. The difference is what happens after it arrives. This is one of the greatest financial misunderstandings in modern society. We've confused earning with keeping. We've confused spending with success. We've confused appearance with wealth. And because of that confusion, millions of hardworking people spend decades believing they simply need a bigger paycheck, when in reality, they may need a different system. Setting up the mystery. Imagine standing at a crossroads. You choose one road. Your friend chooses another. For the first mile, both roads look identical. The scenery is the same. The weather is the same. The progress feels the same. But several miles later, the roads begin drifting apart. Not dramatically, not overnight, just gradually, until eventually, they lead to completely different destinations. Money works exactly like that. Most financial outcomes aren't determined by one enormous decision. They're determined by thousands of tiny ones. Should I save this raise or spend it? Should I finance this purchase or wait? Should I invest today or next year? Should I compare my life to everyone else's or stay focused on my own goals? Each decision seems almost insignificant, but together, they quietly shape an entire financial future. This is why wealth often feels mysterious. People see the destination. They rarely notice the road that led there. Introducing the wealth gap. When most people hear the phrase, the wealth gap, they imagine the divide between the wealthy and everyone else. But there's another wealth gap, one that's far less visible, a gap between families earning similar incomes, yet building dramatically different futures. One family quietly accumulates investments. The other accumulates obligations. One owns appreciating assets. The other finances depreciating possessions. One purchases freedom. The other purchases appearances. The surprising part? Neither family believes they're making extraordinary decisions. They're simply living their lives, one paycheck at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, until eventually their futures no longer resemble each other at all. So here's the question that will guide everything we explore today. If income isn't the biggest predictor of wealth, what is? Because once you understand the answer, you stop chasing a bigger paycheck, and you begin building a bigger future. Part 2. The Invisible Decisions. Chapter 1. Wealth is built between paychecks. Every 2 weeks, David and Emma receive exactly the same paycheck. The numbers are identical. The taxes are nearly identical. The deductions are almost identical. For a brief moment, their financial lives are perfectly equal. Then something fascinating happens. The paycheck lands, and from that single moment, their futures begin moving in different directions. Not because one earns more, not because one is smarter, not because one is luckier, but because every dollar receives a different assignment. Most people think wealth is created when money enters your account. In reality, wealth is created by what happens after the money arrives. Imagine hiring 100 employees. Each employee represents $1. If you don't give them instructions, they'll wander. Some disappear, some get wasted, some work for someone else. But if every employee receives a clear assignment, they begin building something much larger than themselves. Money works exactly the same way. Every dollar has a job. If you don't decide where it goes, someone else will. Advertisers will. Subscription companies will. Luxury brands will. Restaurants. Retailers. Credit card companies. The financial world spends billions of dollars every year trying to tell your money where it should go. Millionaires quietly reverse that process. Before they spend, they decide. Before they consume, they allocate. Before they upgrade, they invest. That's one of the first invisible differences. They tell their money where to go, instead of wondering where it went. Chapter 2. The silent enemy called lifestyle inflation. Let's go back to David. 6 months after his promotion, he doesn't feel wealthier. He feels normal. His nicer apartment no longer feels luxurious. It's simply home. The new SUV? Just transportation. The expensive coffee? Part of his morning routine. Without realizing it, his lifestyle has quietly become his new baseline. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. We simply adapt to improvements. The excitement fades. Then we begin searching for the next upgrade. This cycle repeats for decades. Promotion, upgrade, raise, upgrade, bonus, upgrade. Eventually, every increase in income disappears before it ever has the opportunity to build wealth. Emma experiences the same promotions, the same raises, the same opportunities, but every raise follows a different formula. 40% improves her future. 30% improves her investments. 30% improves her lifestyle. She still enjoys life. She travels. She celebrates milestones, but she refuses to let her expenses grow faster than her freedom. That's a remarkable difference. Lifestyle inflation doesn't usually feel dangerous. Nobody wakes up deciding to become financially trapped. It happens gradually, quietly. One subscription, one upgrade, one payment, one "I deserve this." Until eventually, the life you've built requires every dollar you earn just to maintain it. That's the hidden danger. A higher income doesn't automatically create freedom. Sometimes it simply finances a more expensive version of the same financial stress. Chapter 3: Financial Identity. Here's a question few people ever ask themselves. Who are you trying to become? Not professionally, financially. Because whether we realize it or not, every purchase tells a story. Some purchases solve problems. Others signal identity. Luxury brands understand this better than almost anyone. They don't simply sell products. They sell belonging, status, success, recognition, the feeling of having arrived. There's nothing wrong with buying nice things. The problem begins when possessions become proof of self-worth. David slowly begins measuring success by comparison. His coworkers upgraded, his neighbors renovated, his college friends bought bigger homes. Without realizing it, he begins purchasing to maintain an identity. Emma asks herself a different question. Does this purchase move me closer to the life I actually want? Notice the difference. One question is external, the other is internal. One seeks approval, the other seeks freedom. That's why financial identity matters so much. Because people rarely spend according to their income. They spend according to who they believe they are, or who they hope others think they are. Millionaires quietly understand something profound. The strongest financial identity isn't looking wealthy, it's becoming financially independent. And those are very different goals. Chapter 4: The Psychology of Spending. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to spend money today, and how difficult it feels to invest for 30 years from now? That's not weakness. It's biology. Our brains evolved to prioritize immediate rewards. Behavioral economists call this present bias. Simply put, today feels more important than tomorrow. That's why buying something now often feels more satisfying than investing for retirement. The reward is immediate. The benefit is visible. Investing is different. You don't receive applause. No one compliments your retirement contribution. No friend notices your automatic investment, which means building wealth often requires choosing invisible rewards over visible ones. Let's imagine two purchases. The first is a designer watch. The second is an investment into a diversified portfolio. The watch delivers excitement today. The investment quietly compounds for decades. One satisfies emotion. The other builds options. Here's the irony. The people who consistently choose long-term rewards often gain something far greater than money. They gain peace. Because financial security isn't just about numbers. It's about sleeping well. It's about knowing an unexpected bill won't become a crisis. It's about choosing work because you enjoy it, not because you have no alternative. David doesn't realize he's spending tomorrow's freedom, one purchase at a time. Emma doesn't feel rich. Not yet. But every quiet decision she makes is purchasing something much more valuable than luxury. She's purchasing choices. And over time, choices become freedom. Part 3: The Wealth Equation. Chapter 5: Income Creates Wealth, or Does It? Imagine asking 100 people a simple question: what creates wealth? Most answers would sound familiar. A high-paying job, a better degree, a successful business, a larger paycheck. They're not wrong, but they're not entirely right either. Income creates opportunity. It creates options. It can remove financial pressure. But income alone doesn't create wealth. Think about a professional athlete who earns millions, only to file for bankruptcy a few years after retirement. Or a lottery winner who receives an unimaginable fortune, yet ends up with less money than before. Now think about the school teacher, the electrician, the engineer, or the small business owner who quietly retires with millions. How can both stories exist? Because wealth isn't measured by how much money passes through your hands. It's measured by how much money stays with you and continues working long after you've earned it. Let's return to David and Emma. Both earn $95,000. Both receive similar raises. Both work equally hard. Yet something invisible is beginning to separate them. David sees every raise as an opportunity to improve today's lifestyle. Emma sees every raise as an opportunity to improve tomorrow's freedom. Neither feels dramatically different today. But time is preparing to magnify every decision they've made, because income starts the story. Your decisions determine the ending. Chapter 6. Assets versus Income. There's a question that quietly separates the wealthy from everyone else. Not, how much do you earn, but how many assets are working while you sleep? Most people spend their lives earning income. Millionaires spend their lives building assets. What's the difference? Income depends on your time. Assets continue creating value even after your workday ends. Imagine two factories. The first factory has one employee. Every machine only operates while that employee is present. The moment the employee leaves, production stops. The second factory is different. Its machines continue operating day and night, generating output, creating value, without constant supervision. That's the difference between income and assets. Your salary is powerful, but it depends on you showing up. Assets have the potential to generate value long after you've stopped working. An investment portfolio, ownership in a business, rental properties, royalties, intellectual property, dividend-producing investments. These are examples of assets that can continue producing value over time. David earns a good salary. Emma earns the same salary. But every year, Emma quietly purchases another small piece of ownership. A little more of an index fund, a little more of a retirement account, a little more ownership in businesses around the world. She isn't chasing excitement. She's building an army. Every investment becomes another worker, earning alongside her. David works hard. Emma works hard too. The difference is, Emma's money gradually begins working just as hard as she does. And one day, it may work even harder. Chapter 7. Time, the greatest wealth multiplier. Albert Einstein is often credited with calling compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he actually said those exact words remains debated. But the principle behind them is undeniable. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in finance. Yet surprisingly, it doesn't begin with money. It begins with time. Imagine planting two identical trees, one today, one 10 years from now. You give them the same water, the same sunlight, the same care. Which becomes larger? Obviously, the one planted earlier, not because it was better, because it had more time to grow. Money behaves exactly the same way. Let's imagine David invests $500 a month, starting at age 45. Emma invests the same amount, starting at age 25. Neither earns extraordinary investment returns. Neither finds the next billion-dollar company. Neither becomes a financial genius. Emma simply gives time 20 extra years to work. Those 20 years quietly change everything. Because compounding isn't linear, it accelerates. Early growth feels painfully slow, almost invisible. Many people quit during this stage. They believe nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, momentum is building. Eventually, growth begins generating more growth. Then that growth begins generating even more growth. Until one day, the investment seems almost magical. It isn't magic. It's mathematics. Time rewards patience. And patience quietly rewards wealth. Chapter 8. The invisible price tag, opportunity cost. Every financial decision carries two prices. The first is obvious, the amount printed on the receipt. The second is almost invisible. It's called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost asks a simple question. What did this decision prevent me from having? Imagine buying a luxury vehicle. You see the monthly payment, you see the insurance, you see the fuel. What you don't immediately see is what those same dollars could have become over the next 30 years. Perhaps they could have helped fund your child's education, created financial independence, reduced the number of years you needed to work, Purchased peace of mind. Opportunity cost rarely announces itself. It whispers. That's why it's so dangerous. David isn't making terrible decisions. He's making expensive trade-offs without recognizing them. Emma isn't avoiding enjoyment. She's simply asking one extra question before every significant purchase. What future am I giving up to own this today? That single question changes everything. Because every dollar spent today has two possible futures. It can create a temporary moment, or it can become a permanent builder of wealth. The truly wealthy understand this instinctively. They don't only calculate what something costs, they calculate what it prevents. That's why their financial decisions often appear surprisingly ordinary. They're constantly comparing today's excitement against tomorrow's freedom. And over decades, those invisible calculations quietly separate millionaires from everyone else. At this point, David and Emma still look remarkably similar from the outside. They both have successful careers, nice homes, reliable incomes. Friends would probably describe both of them as financially comfortable, but beneath the surface, their futures have already begun separating, not because one earned dramatically more, not because one was exceptionally gifted, but because thousands of ordinary financial decisions have quietly compounded over time. This is the hidden mathematics of wealth. Small decisions, repeated consistently, become extraordinary outcomes. And in the next chapter, we'll stop speaking in theory. We'll follow 3 real-life financial journeys, 3 people with remarkably similar incomes, whose decisions ultimately led to completely different destinations. Because sometimes, the fastest way to understand wealth is simply to watch it unfold over a lifetime. Part 4, 3 people. 1 salary. 3 completely different futures, Chapter 9, the same starting line. By now, we've learned something important. Income matters. But it isn't the whole story. The real question isn't simply, how much do you make? It's, what do you consistently do with what you make? To see how powerful that idea really is, let's meet 3 fictional professionals. While these characters are fictional, their financial habits represent patterns seen every day by financial planners, economists, and wealth researchers. Meet Alex. Meet Brian. Meet Sophia. They're all 30 years old. They all earn $95,000 per year. They all receive similar annual raises. They all live in the same city. They all have access to the same retirement plan. None of them inherit money. None of them win the lottery. None of them start a billion-dollar company. At age 30, their financial futures are almost impossible to tell apart. But by age 55, their lives look completely different. Let's find out why. Chapter 10, Alex, the comfortable consumer. Let's start with Alex. Alex works hard. He's respected at work. He's dependable. He pays his bills on time. He's not irresponsible. In fact, most people would describe him as financially successful. Every promotion feels like progress. Every raise feels like an opportunity to improve life. A better apartment becomes a house. A reliable car becomes a luxury SUV. A new phone every 2 years. Designer furniture. Premium streaming services. Weekend getaways. None of these purchases are outrageous on their own. They're simply part of what many people consider a comfortable lifestyle. Here's the challenge. Every time Alex earns more, his spending quietly grows alongside it. Financial experts call this lifestyle inflation. Over time, his fixed monthly expenses become larger and larger. His mortgage increases, insurance costs rise, vehicle payments grow, property taxes increase, maintenance costs appear. Before long, Alex discovers something unexpected. Even though he earns far more than he did 10 years ago, he doesn't actually feel wealthier. His paycheck is larger. But so are his obligations. His financial life has become expensive to maintain. If an unexpected expense arrives, it creates stress. If he loses his job, his lifestyle becomes difficult to sustain. From the outside, Alex appears successful. Behind the scenes, he has very little financial flexibility. His income has grown, but his freedom hasn't. Chapter 11. Brian, the disciplined saver. Now let's look at Brian. Brian enjoys many of the same things Alex does. He likes traveling. He enjoys good food. He appreciates quality products. The difference isn't that Brian avoids spending. The difference is that Brian gives every raise a purpose. When he receives a salary increase, his first decision isn't, "What can I buy?" Instead, he asks, "How can this improve my future?" He automatically increases his retirement contributions. He adds to an emergency fund. He pays down high-interest debt. Only after those priorities are funded does he increase his lifestyle. Notice something important. Brian isn't depriving himself. He is delaying some gratification so he can enjoy much greater freedom later. By age 45, unexpected expenses no longer feel like emergencies. His investments have grown steadily. His debt has declined. He sleeps better. Not because he's rich, but because he's prepared. One of the greatest benefits of financial planning isn't simply having more money. It's having fewer financial surprises. That's something people often overlook. Financial security isn't measured only by your account balance. It's measured by your ability to handle life's unexpected moments without panic. Brian's wealth isn't just growing. His confidence is growing too. Chapter 12. Sophia, the Wealth Builder. Finally, let's meet Sophia. At first glance, Sophia's life doesn't look dramatically different from Brian's. She also budgets. She also invests consistently. But Sophia adds one more habit. She focuses on building assets. Every year, she asks herself one question: how can I make my money work harder than I do? She invests consistently in broadly diversified funds. She develops new professional skills. She negotiates salary increases. She starts a small consulting business on weekends. Eventually, that business begins generating additional income. She doesn't spend all of it. She invests much of it. Over time, those investments begin generating returns. Those returns generate additional returns. The business grows. Her investment portfolio grows. Her knowledge grows. Eventually, Sophia reaches an important milestone. Her investments begin producing meaningful income alongside her salary. That's a remarkable shift. She's no longer relying on one source of income. She's building multiple streams of financial support. Notice what Sophia isn't doing. She's not chasing shortcuts. She's not trying to get rich overnight. She's simply allowing time, discipline, and ownership to work together. This is how many financially independent people quietly build wealth. Not through dramatic events, but through consistent ownership of assets over many years. Chapter 13, the results after 25 years. Now let's fast forward 25 years. All three professionals worked hard. All three earned similar salaries throughout their careers. Yet their financial lives tell very different stories. Alex has a beautiful home, nice vehicles, many wonderful memories. But he still depends almost entirely on his next paycheck. His retirement savings are modest. His financial obligations remain significant. Brian has accumulated substantial retirement savings. He has very little debt. He enjoys financial stability. Unexpected expenses no longer threaten his future. He has options. Sophia has built something even larger. Her investments generate meaningful passive income. Her business continues producing revenue. Her retirement accounts have benefited from decades of consistent contributions and compounding. She has choices many people only dream about. She can reduce her working hours, travel more, support charitable causes, help family members, or retire early if she chooses. Did Sophia become wealthy because she earned dramatically more? No. She became wealthier because she consistently converted income into assets. That's the difference. Income pays today's bills. Assets help pay tomorrow's. Key takeaways. So what can we learn from these three stories? First, a higher salary doesn't automatically create wealth. Without intentional decisions, higher income can simply lead to higher expenses. Second, financial freedom is built through consistent habits, not occasional breakthroughs. Small, repeated decisions often matter more than dramatic financial events. Third, assets change the equation. The goal isn't just to earn money. The goal is to gradually own things that have the potential to produce future value. And finally, time rewards consistency. You don't need to make perfect financial decisions. You need to make thoughtful decisions consistently over many years. Because in the end, The wealth gap isn't only about income. It's about behavior. It's about priorities. It's about the quiet decisions no one applauds, but everyone eventually lives with. Coming up in Part 5, we've seen how 3 people earning the same salary can end up with completely different financial futures. In our final chapter, we'll bring everything together with the MoneyXGrab Wealth Framework, a practical roadmap you can use to build long-term financial security regardless of where you're starting today. We'll also answer one of the biggest questions in personal finance. What is the first step you should take if you want your financial future to look different from your present? Part 5. The MoneyXGrab Wealth Framework. Chapter 14, The Truth About Wealth. If you've stayed with me until this point, you've probably realized something important. This video was never really about money. It was about decisions. Because money is simply the scoreboard. Your habits, your priorities, your patience, your discipline, those are the real game. For decades, many people have been taught that the solution to financial stress is simple. Earn more money. And while increasing your income is absolutely valuable, it's only one piece of a much larger equation. Because every year, millions of people receive raises, bonuses, promotions, and still feel financially trapped. At the same time, millions of others quietly build financial security without ever becoming celebrities, professional athletes, or technology founders. The difference isn't always intelligence, it isn't always education, and it certainly isn't always luck. More often than people realize, it's a system. A repeatable way of thinking. A framework for making decisions. Something you return to. Again and again. Regardless of what the economy is doing. So before we finish, I'd like to leave you with a framework we've built throughout this documentary. A framework designed not to help you get rich quickly, but to help you build wealth that lasts. Chapter 15, The MoneyXGrab Wealth Framework. Over the last hour, we've explored psychology, behavior, investing, assets, and financial decision-making. Let's bring everything together into one simple model. I call it the MoneyXGrab Wealth Framework. 5 principles. Easy to remember. Powerful enough to change your financial future. M. Master your money mindset. Everything begins here. Before you change your bank account, you must change your thinking. Many people believe wealth is reserved for people with extraordinary income. But the evidence tells a different story. Your mindset determines your habits. Your habits determine your decisions. Your decisions determine your future. Instead of asking, "Why don't I have enough?" begin asking, "How can I make better financial decisions with what I already have?" That's where lasting change begins. O. Own appreciating assets. Income pays you once. Assets have the potential to keep creating value over time. That doesn't mean every asset guarantees growth. Markets fluctuate, businesses face risks, and real estate values can rise or fall. But throughout history, ownership has been one of the most common ways people build long-term wealth. Whether it's diversified investments, a business, intellectual property, or another productive asset, the goal is simple. Gradually own things that can continue producing value long after you've earned today's paycheck. N. Never let lifestyle outgrow income. This may be the hardest lesson of all. Success has a strange side effect. As income rises, expectations often rise with it. The nicer home, the luxury vehicle, the larger monthly payment. Soon, your future is financing your present. Instead, allow your income to grow faster than your lifestyle. That's how financial breathing room is created. Freedom often begins with margin. E. Educate yourself continuously. The greatest investment you'll ever make may not be in the stock market. It may be in yourself. Read books, study business, learn about taxes, understand investing, develop valuable professional skills, improve negotiation. The more informed your decisions become, the more valuable every dollar you earn becomes. Knowledge compounds, just like money. Why? Yield to time. This final principle may be the most overlooked. Everyone wants fast results. Markets don't work that way. Businesses don't grow that way. Neither does wealth. Time rewards consistency. It rewards patience. It rewards those who continue investing, learning, and improving. Even when progress feels invisible, the people who appear financially successful overnight usually spent years building quietly before anyone noticed. Chapter 16, The Wealth Formula. If I could reduce everything we've discussed into one simple equation, it would look something like this. Income times good decisions times time equals financial freedom potential. Notice what's missing. There isn't a shortcut. There isn't a secret investment. There isn't a magic app. Instead, there are three factors that reinforce one another. Income creates opportunity. Good decisions help you retain and grow that opportunity. Time allows those decisions to compound. Remove any one of those elements, and the equation becomes much weaker. Increase all three, and something extraordinary begins to happen. Financial progress becomes less dependent on luck and more dependent on consistency. Perhaps that's why the wealthiest people often appear surprisingly ordinary. Their lives aren't driven by extraordinary financial moments. They're built on ordinary decisions, repeated consistently for decades. Chapter 17, A Letter to Your Future Self. Before we end, I'd like you to imagine something. Picture yourself 20 years from today, not the version of you that's worried about this week's bills, not the version thinking about next month's paycheck, the version who has lived through thousands more decisions, thousands more mornings, thousands more opportunities to either build or delay financial freedom. Now imagine that future version of yourself writing you a letter. What would it say? Maybe something like this. Thank you for beginning when it wasn't easy. Thank you for investing even when the amounts felt small. Thank you for resisting purchases that would have delayed our future. Thank you for learning instead of assuming. Thank you for choosing patience over comparison. Thank you for believing that small decisions mattered, because they did. Here's the truth. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 20. Your financial future won't be built by one perfect investment, or one promotion, or one lucky break. It will be built by the choices you make repeatedly, especially the ones that no one else notices. If this documentary has taught us anything, it's this. The wealth gap isn't only about income. It's about behavior. It's about ownership. It's about patience. It's about discipline. It's about making decisions today that your future self will thank you for tomorrow. You don't need to earn the highest salary in your city. You don't need to predict the next market winner. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need a system. A system that helps you spend intentionally, save consistently, invest wisely, continue learning, and give time the opportunity to work in your favor. That's how financial freedom is built. Quietly, patiently, one decision at a time, one paycheck at a time, 1 year at a time, until one day you realize something remarkable. You no longer work because you have to. You work because you choose to. And that may be the greatest form of wealth there is. If you found value in today's documentary, consider subscribing to MoneyXGrab. Every week, we explore the psychology, systems, and strategies behind lasting wealth, without the hype, shortcuts, or get-rich-quick promises. Now I'd like to hear from you. Which financial habit has made the biggest difference in your life? Or which one do you plan to start today? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience could encourage someone else to take their first step toward a stronger financial future. And if you know someone who believes a bigger paycheck is the only path to wealth, send them this video. It might change the way they think about money forever. Until next time, don't just chase income. Build ownership, build wisdom, build freedom. We'll see you in the next episode of MoneyXGrab.